If you ever ask me, how do you start a movie? This is how you start a movie. Murder Mystery 2 is one of the best opening that I've ever seen, because it keeps you, it summarizes the first film and just drops you in on what is happening in the new film very, very quickly. It does not waste time letting you know where your characters came from, where they are, and where they want to go. It just jumps in and it begins. With this particular film, they looked at the first film and thought, well, people really love the action sequences, and there is a lot of action in this film, which I love. There is less of the mystery. This felt, the first one had a mystery, and so you'd go into all this, but at its core, it was driven by a mystery. This one felt like there's a mystery, but here's action. Here's some action. Yeah, there's some action. They even brought in a character that you've seen this face before, and every time you see them, you know what they're going to be, and you know there will be action. So they bring in that particular character, they do other things, and you're like, okay, so is this a mystery? Am I watching an action film? Am I watching a mystery? Am I watching an action comedy? And you go like, okay, for the ride, whatever is happening on the scene actually works. And one thing that helps this movie is the pacing. The pacing is amazing. This movie goes, it moves. Yes, there's action, there's mystery. Once you start going into that mode of, man, there's too much action, they put you back in the mystery, so it connects you back to the core of the film, which is mystery. And by, I think, the third act, you're totally lost. You don't even remember that there was a mystery. So now when the mystery, now we go back to the mystery and the unveiling is done, you go like, oh, I had forgotten about that. There was a lot of those moments. There was a lot of moments of, oh, we forgot that this character was there. There are a lot of surprises. There are a lot of pleasant surprises. There are characters from the first film who now carry on to this film, and they focus on one major character, an Indian character that we all loved. I particularly loved him in the first film, and this time he's the center of this particular film, and they have to go to an island in Asia, I think somewhere close to India, and they embrace the Indian culture, which now dives into the cinematography of the film. The cinematography is beautiful. It's such a beautiful film. The color pops, it feels like candy, and again, and you know what to expect when you see that baseball hit that glass and the glass cracks. You know the kind of movie to expect. But just the visual language in this film is beautiful. The coloring, how they chose to actually make everything just pop. They embrace a lot of Indian way of filmmaking, especially with the dance and the outfits, and just the color. The color of the film is so good, and you kind of as much as you move on to places like France and Paris, they still kind of maintain that poppy color, that candish approach to coloring, and it just gives you a pleasant experience. It's pleasing to your eyes. It's so pleasing to your eyes. Some shots are so beautiful, and I would go like, wait, is that CGI? Is that background a CGI? Is that a painting? Because it's just so beautiful, And again, judging from the first movie, it took what we already had and they amplified it, especially visually. They just amplified everything. So this is a very, very good time. There are no surprises. The only surprise is that there is a lot of action. There is. I wouldn't call it a lot. I would call it the center. The core of this particular movie is action, because they gave it more priority than the mystery itself. There's a lot of competition, because for the first act you have the mystery defined. For the second act, it's actually just one long action set piece, and the third act it begins with the mystery, it begins with the action, and then ends with now solving the big mystery. The characters are diverse. It's Netflix. The characters are gender neutral. The movie is gender balanced. Netflix. And yeah, the only gripe I have with this film, there are some characters that felt off. I love the two black characters. They're awesome. They're really interesting. Their drive is interesting, and it's something that we are familiar with. But the leader, I don't feel she was delivering her lines very well. It felt like it was coming from theater. She feels like she comes from a theater background. She feels like she comes from a theater background. She doesn't feel very, very natural. She feels like, you can see her act. I don't have a problem with her. I just feel like there was a lot of acting that was involved. I could watch her deliver her lines and go like, yeah, she's acting, but I didn't have a problem with that because she was another really funny character. She was another character that was interesting to follow, but whatever happens with her happens. So generally, Murder Mystery 2 is a really enjoyable film. It's where it's supposed to be. It's on streaming. If it was in the theaters, I would have a problem with that. I wouldn't pay $20 to see it. I wouldn't pay $10 to see it on a big screen. But on streaming, it fits there perfectly. Now performances, there's nothing new. Actually, there's some characters you see and you go like, I know what this character is going to be. I know he's not going to be a good guy. You just know because you know how some characters are just whatever. If you see Sean Bean in a film, what's the first thing that you expect? Based on Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones, if you're to see Sean Bean in a film, what would you expect? Same thing with the particular character who is introduced in this film. When you see them, yeah, you know it's going to go that way. So generally, Murder Mystery 2 is a good time. I would give it a 4.5. I had a great time. Again, the pacing of this film just makes everything feel much better. It's very well paced. Some humor did not land. I struggled with some particular action set pieces, especially in Paris with that van. There were some things that they were doing. I was like, oh, okay. There were stunts in the Eiffel Tower, and I was like, it's Adam Sandler, so that's how it usually goes. But that van action set piece in Paris, I was like, oh, someone must have died. Especially going through a wall and doing something to some people in a restaurant, I was like, come on, something bad must have happened. So this is a very good time. This is a very entertaining. It's a surprisingly entertaining film. I had a good time. I don't care about what people say. I had a great time with this particular film. I will give it a 4.5 out of 5. So thanks for watching and see you on the next one.